and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news show, transfer news update show, owners selling the club, latest news show. And surprisingly, this morning I was like, will I do a live stream today or not? Is there much going on? Is there much to talk about? Because we've got no Premier League for 4 freaking weekends because our game versus Leeds is called off. But it was a story about Bellingham. There's a story about apparently almost agreeing some deal to sign some right back on a 3 called Arias. However, the sources that are reporting that aren't very reliable, so I'll briefly cover that at the end of the video. But this big story came out about Jim Ratcliffe looking to buy Manchester United, and actually the Glazers, most importantly, agreeing a price to sell Manchester United, agreeing a sale price. We will get into the story. Obviously, the main headline was Jim Ratcliffe does not hide his desire to buy Manchester United, whose sale price has been set at €4 billion by the Glazer family. Confirmation from a decent source that the Glazers have set a sale price. So, you know, there is a price on the club. There is a buyer. A sale is definitely possible, depending on if the buyer can afford the price and all of that as well. But what I'm going to do, guys, is apparently it's buffering. It is the stream buffering, or we've got a troll. But as you can see on my notes, there's a big story about the Glazers. So I've got all the news here that's come out about the Glazers selling in the last month. The news about the Glazers selling started on the 17th of August with Tom McDermott and the Telegraph doing these reports. And I've got every single bit of information here on my screen about the Glazers potentially selling Manchester United as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into the story that's come out today about the Glazers selling, and then I'm going to go and get into the stories that have come out in the past and put them all together, because people say I waffle too much in my live stream. So I'm going to get right into the news. Everything that's been said about the Glazers selling for the last month. Well, not everything. Everything that's been said by a tier 1 or tier 2 source. There's loads that's been said about the Glazers selling, but all the ones that have come from decent sources we're going to get into over the last month and reevaluate my opinion. Is it likely? Is it not likely? What would be needed for the Glazers to sell and more? So first of all, smash that like button. Second of all, do subscribe down below if you're new. Third of all, let's get into the story. So the story that came out today, as you can see on the screen, is that Jim Ratcliffe is not hiding his desire to buy Manchester United, whose sale price has been set at €4 billion by the Glazers. Now, if you watched my video just 3 days ago, I spoke about there being a sale price from the Glazers on United, and also a source close to the Glazers came out and told Mike Keegan of the Daily Mail that because the Glazers don't have an emotional attachment to Man United, because the Glazers aren't emotionally invested in Man United, they're not Man United fans, because of all these protests and because of everything they're dealing with, if a good bid came along, the Glazers would be open to selling Man United because they're not emotionally attracted. All their attraction to United is money, not emotionally. They don't support the club. You know, the club is just money for them. It's just business. And if they see a good business opportunity for the club, aka a big sale, they will sell the club. It was also said in this report that Jim Ratcliffe, in the event of the success of his close Manchester United takeover, would like to recruit Luis Campos to lead the club's sport policy. It was also said that Jim Ratcliffe wants to buy United. He's got a plan to buy United, and he would like Luis Campos to be the sporting director of football. Chelsea also interested in him right now. He's working at PSG. And if you look at PSG's transfer window, in the past, PSG have done these big Galactico deals and they sign these big name players and they have all these expensive players and they don't work together. PSG is signing a team this summer. PSG is signing a lot of under the radar up and coming players. You know, Fabian Ruiz, 25 million instead of the big signing they would be doing. You know, this is the sporting director Jim Ratcliffe would like to bring in. And it was said that Jim Ratcliffe, if his Manchester United project is successful, he would like to recruit Luis Campos and take United back to the top. Obviously, Jim Ratcliffe has come out publicly and said he wants to buy United. We also know that Jim Ratcliffe has made United know he has the funds, because he obviously put an offer for Chelsea, which was rejected, and it came out after he put in the offer for Chelsea. The reason he put out the offer for Chelsea was so that Man United knew when he said he wanted to buy the club, he was serious. We know Jim Ratcliffe's company obviously has a stake in Nice and all of that as well. As Paul says, guys, Glazers sell now. Hashtag Glazers out. There is a buyer for Manchester United, and if there is a time to get rid of the Glazers, it is now. The Glazers have a €4 billion price tag on Manchester United, but I think if we continue pressure with the protests, if we have protests week in, week out, that uses the police force. As I said in my video yesterday, it's come out by the Premier League saying they don't have enough police in Manchester to do the Manchester United Leeds game. Well, look, take that as a positive thing. If there's a protest every week at Old Trafford, you've got to use more police resources. That's going to put pressure on the government. The government going to put pressure on the Glazers on top of the fans. There's a position where there's a price tag of 4 billion on United. The Glazers will sell for 4 billion. But remember, you keep affecting the Glazers' economic stance. We keep doing the protests. We keep, stopping the sponsors. TeamViewer, because of the pressure from us, have pulled out. And the most important thing, and this is what I spoke about in my video the other day, and this is what I'm going to get into, there are members of the Glazer family that do want to sell United, not Joe and not Avram. Joe and Avram are still like, we want to keep United unless there's a really good economic deal for us, because Joe and Avram and Glazer are businessmen. But because of, Man United fans going on and piling bad reviews on all the other Glazer family businesses, because of Man United fans constantly pestering other members of the Glazer family, lots of the Glazers family are kind of done with United. They want it gone. It's just Joe and Avram that want United. And I always say with this, there's a 4 billion price tag on Man United. I don't know if Jim Ratcliffe can afford that. Anyone know? Let me know with a live chat. I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. I know the Emirate of Dubai can afford that. Do you want the Emirate of Dubai? Does he seriously want United? Jim Ratcliffe, we know, wants United. The Emirate of Dubai, that's speculation. Elon Musk, that's speculation. But, continue to put pressure on the Glazers. They A, spend, or B, sell. This summer, put pressure on the Glazers, they spent. Next summer, they don't want to spend. The Glazers will not spend next summer. They're already saying Anthony's coming out of next summer's budget. You put more pressure on the Glazers next summer, and they could potentially spend as well. But we've got a big story to get into as well. 4 billion is 3.75 billion, everyone. And this price tag has been said by multiple sources that the Glazers will be willing to sell for this price tag. And you've got to look at this as in a positive. This is the first time in a very long time that the Glazers have put a price tag on Manchester United. It's an absurd price, as you're saying, but this is the first time the Glazers have actually put a price tag on United. And this is the first time there's a buyer for Man United. If there is a time for the Glazers to sell, I personally believe it will be now, because as I said, this is the first time there's a price tag on Manchester United, but this is also the first time people have come out publicly and say they want to buy United. Remember, it was only said 3 days ago. Now, Mike Keegan of the Daily Mail did a report, and I spoke about this in my video 3 days ago, about what sources close to the Glazer family had said. And remember, Mike Keegan said, well-placed sources say 3.75 billion would be enough to price the Glazer family from Manchester United. This is another source saying that it would take 3.75 billion pounds, which is 4 billion euros, for the Glazers to sell United. Mike Keegan also said that the Emirate of Dubai is a contender in buying Manchester United, and the price tag would likely fit their budget, but he didn't mention Jim Ratcliffe. He did say it remains whether to be seen if the price tag of 3.75 billion would be palatable for Jim Ratcliffe. So we're in a position right now where I don't think the Glazers want to sell United. In fact, I know Avram and Joel don't want to sell Manchester United. And I'm not saying that United is going to be sold. I don't want to get anyone's hopes up. But what I'm saying is we're in a position where Jim Ratcliffe wants to buy Man United, and Man United will sell for 3.75 billion. The question that needs answering is, can Jim Ratcliffe afford that? And Jim Ratcliffe is already making plans about bringing in Luis Campos, according to reports. So, if Jim Ratcliffe is making plans then about who he'd bring in and all of that, then Jim Ratcliffe must believe there's a decent chance of him buying United, you could potentially say. And if Jim Ratcliffe knows the price tag's 3.75 billion and he's already making plans, then maybe he can afford this price tag. We know there's a price tag. We know the Glazers have agreed to sell for a certain price, according to multiple sources, and we know Jim Ratcliffe wants to buy. We also know the Emirate of Dubai could be a potential buyer who would definitely be able to afford the price tag if Jim Ratcliffe can't as well. And you've got to remember, Mark Ogden said the other day that an unsuccessful group that were interested in buying out Chelsea are falling over themselves to buy United. Mark Ogden, again, a very good journalist, because he was one of the first, I think he was the first journalist to break the news that Ten Hag would join United. I know it came from ESPN. And he is saying, the team that wanted to buy Chelsea, which we know is Jim Ratcliffe, are literally desperate to buy United. We know there is desperation there. They are planning to buy United. Jim Ratcliffe will do everything to buy United. The question is, the Jim Ratcliffe wants to buy. The question is, will the Glazers sell? Joe and Avram do not have an emotional attachment to Manchester United, as it was said by inside sources. Inside sources close to the Glazers said if they had a good economic offer, Joe and Avram would sell the club because they don't have an emotional attachment, and that economic offer is looking at 4 billion euros. So we're in a situation where can Jim Ratcliffe afford to buy the club for 4 billion euros as well? Screw Emirate of Dubai, they would be worse than the Glazers. I think you don't know that, but I think in terms of morals, maybe, yes, Jim Ratcliffe, I mean, to be fair, any billionaire's got good morals, to be fair. But yeah, Jim Ratcliffe can afford it. If Jim Ratcliffe can afford that price, then it's a very good sign for United. And we've basically got 400 people watching, guys. So please do smash that like button. Let's go for 300 likes before the end of the live stream. And of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Get your hashtag Glazers out and Sir Jim's in the chat as well. It does sound like Luis Campos is going to Chelsea, but we'll have to wait and see. I think he might stay at PSG as he's only just got there. And Saeed says, I think this would be almost impossible, but if it would be a dream to have Jim Ratcliffe, Ranić, Paul Mitchell, Ten Hag, and kicking out the Glazers, Arnold, Mercer, Fletcher. 100%. I looked at a picture of Man United training the other day, and you see Darren Fletcher and Man United training, and I'm thinking, what does he do? What the fuck is Darren Fletcher's role at Manchester United? He's in training 1 minute, he's doing business deals the other minute. And I tell you another funny story. We brought in Michael Keane's brother. Remember, just a month and a half ago, nah, we're not getting Paul Mitchell. We're getting Michael fucking Keane's brother. He's got Declan Rice's number. Nah, United thinking Michael Keane's brother's shit now as well. When you're near 70 and have more than 10 billion, why not buy your boyhood club? Not like he'll be short after it. Great marketing for his day job too. Potentially, yeah, as well. Jim Ratcliffe does want to buy United. Look, it's said that Jim Ratcliffe's not hiding his desire to buy Man United. Jim Ratcliffe is absolutely desperate to buy Manchester United. But Abs Burns says the issue with the Glazers is they have money and they want their fingers in all the lucrative sports. They lost out on the IPL cricket, and now a team in Dubai for T20 cricket will need joint ownership. You know, the Glazers, you're absolutely right with that. The Glazers don't want to sell United. When I say the Glazers, certain members of the Glazer family do want to sell United. The Glazer sisters, the other Glazer families, reportedly, inside sources are saying there was a meeting just 2 weeks ago with the Glazer family about selling United. And in that meeting with the Glazer family had about selling Man United, not all the people in that meeting were on the same page. But everyone, you know, all the main owners, all the main Glazers, all had a meeting about selling United, and a lot of them weren't on the same page. A lot of them were going, look, I want to sell United, and some of them were saying, I want to keep United. At the end of the day, who's the most important people? Joe and Avram, absolute cunts. But they want to keep United because, you know, it's very obvious. One, because the source said they want to keep United, but two, what they just went and brought Casemiro and Antony. They were willing to buy Rabiot and Arnautovic and just not spend any more money on Ten Hag. Jim Ratcliffe comes in, says he wants to buy the club. They know he's got the money to buy the club. They know he's desperate for the club. Protests are happening. We've lost 4-0. They're in a position when Jim Ratcliffe came in, fuck, we've got to sell this club now and, you know, take a loss and we can't take out our annual dividends, or we've got to spend some money. So the Glazers probably sat there in their meeting and went, well, yes, Glazer sisters, you want to sell Man United, but we don't care because we get most of the dividends, so fuck you. And Joel and Avram probably sat there, in the meeting and gone, well, we created the Super League and we got past that because they did. The Super League should have been the end of the Glazers. Everyone knows that. People forget what the Super League would have done. The Super League would have had severe economic consequences on football in this country. And when I say the Super League would have been an economic disaster, I'm looking at it from a general national perspective. Because if the Super League had happened, thousands of jobs would have been lost. Thousands. Because all of a sudden, you know, 99% of the revenue in the Premier League comes from the big six sides. People watch the Premier League for the big six sides. It's facts. If Wolves play Aston Villa, who are rivals and are two decent-sized clubs, it's not even going to get half the views as if Manchester United play Bournemouth, and Bournemouth's a mini club, because the top six sides, they bring so much money into the Premier League. And the Glazers, if they made a Super League, would just kill the Premier League. The Super League would 100% kill the Premier League. And that would kill your Leicesters, that would kill your Aston Villas, that would kill your Newcastles. When we got Newcastle now, they've got new owners. That would kill your Norwiches. And not only would that have severe economic consequences on all of those clubs, so jobs would be lost. You know, that the football would have no competition. Football in this country, your local clubs would fall behind. And it would have a massive economic impact on the whole of the country. And the Glazer family were the ringleaders behind that. People forget that. The Glazer family, it's not like Man City and Chelsea and Arsenal's owners that were like, cool, we'll join the Super League. Our owners were the ringleaders. Woodward, Joel Glazer and Florentino Perez were the three ringleaders behind the Super League. One from Real Madrid, two from Manchester United. All the other Premier League clubs' owners, yeah, they were interested in the Super League, but they weren't the ringleaders. They weren't the one thinking about planning the destruction of English and European football for their own financial gain. That is our owners. And our owners will sit there and go, we got past the Super League. And I think a lot of people don't realise how bad the Super League really was until you look back at what would have happened. And when you're the Glazers and you go, well, we got away with doing the Super League. You know, they protested. The protest was bad. We brought Sancho, we brought Varane, we brought Ronaldo back. Bringing Ronaldo back was just the whole distraction for the Super League. So the Glazers go, look, stuff at United is bad now. Certain Glazer family members want out of Man United. The Glazers go, Jim Ratcliffe wants to buy. The pressure is on. But the Glazers go, well, we bought Ronaldo when the Super League happened. Let's go buy Anthony. Let's go buy Casemiro. So us as fans, we've got to continue protesting. We've got to continue putting pressure on the Glazers because they got away with the Super League. We got to continue protesting, even though they brought Anthony, even though they brought Casemiro. We have to continue doing our Glazer out stuff and all of that, and you know, attacking the sponsorship, not buying the club shirts because there's a buyer, there's a $4 billion price. Can Jim Ratcliffe afford that? We'll have to wait out and see. But at the end of the day, they're the ones that will choose to sell. You know, is it gonna? You know, there are reports that they have no emotional attachment to United. If they get a good economic offer, they will sell. But we need to pressure them into selling. We need to go in that meeting. We need to convince Joel and Avram to sell. There's already members of the Glazer family saying, can we just sell? There's members of the Glazer family wanting to sell, but not Joel and Avram, who are the two most important people in a sale as well. We're on 127 likes, guys, so please do smash that like button as well. And of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Buy the club, change all the backroom staff, upgrade and expand the stadium, recruit smartly, win trophies, and we are back, says Flex Felix. Exactly. Jim Ratcliffe buys the club, absolutely gets rid of all the bankers, Murta, Arnold, Fletcher, gets rid of them all, brings in your Paul Mitchells, brings in your Luis Camposes, brings in, you know, your Ralph Rangnick type people, completely puts a structure in Manchester United. We don't have scouts. You know what? We sacked our scouts, Marcel Bout and Jim Lawler. Man United don't have fucking scouts at the moment. It's a fucking mess. You know, we've got Michael Keane's brother, Michael Keane's brother is the main guy of finances or transfers. Why? Because he's got Declan Rice's number. You're absolutely right. Man United need new owners. And we need new owners so they can completely change the structure of the board. So, you know, did you know this? Here's an interesting fact. No team has a higher net spend in the last 10 years than United. We have the highest net spend in the last 10 years. Now, I'll tell you what's happened in the last 10 years to Manchester United. About 3 seasons where we finished in the top 4, 3 out of 10. Man City finished above us in all of those seasons. No Premier League titles. A Champions League quarter-final is our best in the Champions League. And we're celebrating second in the Europa League as if we'd won the treble in the last 10 years. But we've had the highest net spend of every team. But why have we had no success? Because the people will say, oh, Alice, why are you Glazers out? They spend money. Why are you Glazers out, Alice? They spend money. Are you stupid? Are you stupid? I say to them. Look at what they've spent money on. Look at who they employed. Ole Gunnar knows. Ole knows nothing. I'm sorry. He's a club legend. He's a nice lad. He made us happy as his interim thing. Ole caused more problems than we all think. Ole players injured. Ole literally caused a decline in all of our players. Ole's favouritism, Ole's stubbornness to not rotate the team started the dressing room problems. Ole's loss of control started the leaks. The Glazers employ people like Ole. But that's not the worst thing. I'm not going to put all the blame on Ole. They spent 1.1 billion and we haven't won really much. 1.1 billion, that's why we haven't won much. And people say, but the Glazers spend money. Why are you Glazers out? And it's the most stupid thing ever because it's like, imagine if that 1.1 billion, instead of being spent by Judge and Woodward, that 1.1 billion, instead of being spent by Judge and Woodward, and bear in mind the 1.1 billion is our money, the club's money, not the Glazers' money. The money City spend is their owners' money, not the ones they generate. But imagine what a proper sporting director would have done with the money Woodward and Judge spent. Imagine that. You could have 2 bankers, Woodward and Judge, and I reckon they spent over $1 billion, Woodward and Judge. I reckon if you had a good sporting director in, you could have bought 10 times the team for a third of the price. And that is what we need to change. Not just the owners, but the whole structure of the club. It's an absolute disgrace from top to bottom. And, you know, United will not be a top side again until we get rid of those owners. And this is why I say, you know, the owners, we have to continue the Glazer out stuff. Jim Ratcliffe is desperate to buy the club. The Glazers are even having discussions about selling. They've had meetings and discussions about selling. They don't want to sell, but the Glazers selling, it's in their mind. And all we've got to do is continue to put the pressure on. You know, we've got to make it so Man United would not be of financial gain to the Glazers. We've got to make it so United would generally suffer under the Glazer ownership. We've got to make it so the Glazer are going probably economically better for them to sell the club. That's what United need to do. That's what we need to do. We need to continue to protest. Guys, keep smashing that like button. And of course, do subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. We're on 127 likes. Let's push for 300 likes as well. And if there is a change in ownership, what will happen to Ten Hag looking at Tuchel and Chelsea? I believe Ten Hag would stay. I 100% believe Ten Hag would stay because he's a good manager and he's new and he's starting something. If someone had brought Man United last year, let's say Jim Ratcliffe had gone and brought Man United a year ago, who do you think he would have brought in? Probably Ten Hag. At the end of the day, the reason we got Ten Hag was because actually Rangnick had a large say in that. Rangnick did. If Man United had got in Pochettino and not Ten Hag, I would say if Jim Ratcliffe came in the next couple of months, I think Poch would potentially be gone. But Jim Ratcliffe, he wants what's best for United. And one thing United have got right in the last 10 years, and we haven't got a lot right, is appointing Erik Ten Hag because he is a fantastic manager. If Man City had just lost Pep in the summer, who do you think Man City would have gone for? Nagelsmann and probably Ten Hag. That's who Man City probably would have had their eye on. Nagelsmann, Ten Hag, Zidane. They're the three managers I think a lot of people would have had their eye on. You could also talk about Enrique, but he wouldn't have gone because of the World Cup. Man City and Liverpool, if they had lost their manager last season, they probably would have gone and got Ten Hag. If United had gone and got someone else, I would be saying, I could see maybe Jim Ratcliffe getting rid of them. But I think that Ten Hag would stay at United under any ownership. I think any smart owner would keep Ten Hag because of what he's done at Ajax, and I think a lot of people were in for him. So I don't think that getting Jim Ratcliffe would affect Ten Hag whatsoever. In fact, Jim Ratcliffe, when talking about his plans for United, is about getting proper sporting directors in and proper people to work around Erik Ten Hag as well. The Glazers know the training facilities and stadium need huge investment, obtaining 3.75 billion for their 70% and no debt, leaving them with huge money, says SB. And protest is the way to get rid of them. Doing it once is not enough. You have to do it more than that, 100%. We will get into the Bellingham news in just a second as well. I do want to get into the Bellingham news. Man United favourites to sign Jude Bellingham. I will discuss that more later in the stream just because we're a long way away from the transfer window. But reportedly, Bellingham would prefer to work with Ten Hag and Klopp. Lol. I don't really care if we sign Jude Bellingham or not, actually. People will think I'm crazy, but but I think Liverpool fans would be really pissed off if Jude Bellingham went to Man United, which would make me want to sign him. And Alice, the Glazers don't spend their money. It's the club's money, which makes 100%. It's the Glazers. When I say the Glazers spend money, it's the club's money as well. And under the Glazers, recruitment has been poor. Managerial appointments have not been good enough. We have fallen further and further behind other clubs, and the stadium and training ground need work. As Alex exactly talking about this, and I spoke about this in a live stream just the other week. Man United is the only stadium. Old Trafford is the only stadium in the Premier League without a proper screen. Old Trafford is the only. Bournemouth have better facilities than us. We generally, if you actually look at the facilities, I know Old Trafford for me is the best stadium in the Premier League, but when you look at facilities, Old Trafford has the worst facilities in the Premier League, and that is actually a fact. We are miles behind the rest of the Premier League in terms of facilities and stuff. Miles behind, guys. Absolute miles behind the rest of the Premier League. It's a disgrace. It's an actual disgrace. There's videos of Old Trafford leaking. There's videos of bits of Old Trafford practically falling down. You look at Real Madrid's new stadium, then you look at Man United Stadium. At the back, there's bloody rust and mould. The Manchester United Stadium, Old Trafford, is an absolute mess. It's absolutely awful right now. It's an absolute state. And it makes me really sad because not only is Carrington falling behind, not only are we falling behind in every aspect off the pitch, not the best coaches, not the best recruitment, but, Man City are doing up their stadium. Tottenham Hotspur just got this fancy new stadium. And Man United, the biggest club in England, next thing you know, they'll be comparing our stadium to Luton Town's. Because every single Premier League club is putting technology in their stadium, upgrading their stadium. Tottenham, Man City, miles ahead of us. Look at what Real Madrid have done. Generally, our stadium is closer to Luton Town Stadium than it is to Man City or Real Madrid's. And we should be a lot closer to City and Real Madrid than Luton Town. Because I'm telling you now, if you've seen Luton Town Stadium, it's a shithole. They have to go through some houses garden up these stairs. That's Old Trafford. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. And the Glazers, the one big thing about this is the Glazers don't want to spend money. This is a fact. The Glazers do not want to spend any money. But the Glazers are in a position where they need to spend money on the pitch, but they need to spend money off the pitch. And the Glazer family might sit there and go, shit. The Premier League, as I spoke about in a video the other day, the Premier League spend more money than any other league. To get top 4 in La Liga, League, any other league, the Glazers could sit there and not have to spend a penny to get top 4 in any other league. But to get top 4 in the Premier League, the Glazers have got to continually invest in Man United. They've got to put a lot of money in Manchester United as well. And to do that, they need to upgrade the stadium. They need to change the recruitment department. They need to buy a lot of players. They need to invest a lot of money in the next few years, the Glazers. And they're not willing to do that. We're already hearing Anthony's coming out next summer's budget. So the realization for the Glazer family that shit, there's more pressure and pressure and pressure on them to invest, and there might be more of their worthwhile to sell United and cash in, could be something that could come around if we continue to protest as well. I wanted to get into a few more stories. Smash that like button if you hate Joel Glazer as well. Richard said Ollie was a yes man to the Glazers. He wasn't a good coach for a team like United in the Premier League. He failed with Cardiff. By the way, it's speculated Jim Ratcliffe's net worth is 14 billion. Well, if Jim Ratcliffe's net worth is 14 billion, then he could afford the 4 billion price to buy United. And if Jim Ratcliffe really wants to buy United, and if it's really true the Glazers have agreed to sell the club at £4 billion, then it's definitely likely. You know, you've got to remember, and I'm going to scroll down because I'm quite behind on live chat, so I do apologise. So just repeat your live chat because I scrolled to the bottom now. What I will say is, we know, we don't know. There is multiple reports coming out from multiple sources that the Glazers would sell United for 4 billion euros, £3.75 billion. If Jim Ratcliffe can afford that, and if it's true that Jim Ratcliffe is desperate to buy United, which we know is true because he's come out publicly, there's a chance we can get Jim in. But it's how do you get the Glazers out as well? Rogue said, what do you think about the reports of Man United to sign right-back Santiago Aris on a free transfer? Reportedly, we're signing some right-back on a free transfer that's 30 from the Spanish League. It has come out from unreliable sources, so I haven't really covered it, but I might cover it in my live stream tomorrow. But the people saying it at the Sun, not the most reliable sources. Obviously, I try and only report on what reliable sources have said. Apparently, we're signing a right-back, but it hasn't come out from reliable sources, whereas the Bellingham news has come out from reliable sources. So that's why I spoke about Bellingham. 201 likes. Let's go for 300 likes. Someone said I look very tired. I've got a lot of comments saying I look tired at the moment, and that's because I had an infection in my eye, so I've been a little bit ill. So that is why. But I do get sleep, believe it or not. But it's not just the buying price. We need investment facilities and players. Exactly. Even if Jim Ratcliffe can afford the price, can he afford to do it at Old Trafford? Can he afford to bring in the players he wants? Can he afford all of that? And basically, long term, you know, we will be able to, because, you know, the Glazers don't have to put any money in and still can afford to spend 100 million in the summer because of how much we generate. But yeah, you know, there's multiple questions of what can Jim Ratcliffe do? What can Jim Ratcliffe afford? But I saw this on Twitter and I want to show you Jim Ratcliffe's plan. Jim Ratcliffe's plan was this. Jim Ratcliffe's plan is to get him as the owner, Campos as the sporting director, and Ten Hag as the manager. And someone said, don't give me hope. Reading this is too good to be true. If you're going to ask me right now, do I think Jim Ratcliffe will buy United? Right now, I'm on the fence. I don't want to say no, because I think with all the news reports that have come out, it's very possible. Very, very possible, especially with the amount of noise around it. But remember, just a year and a half, just 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, there was all this news about Arsenal's owners selling. A year and a half ago, we all thought Eddie was going to sell Arsenal. Or Kroenke, sorry, was going to sell Arsenal a year and a half ago. And Arsenal still got the same owners. So there's a lot of noise about United being for sale. But the only way I believe that United will be sold is if we continue to protest, if we continue to pressure on the Glazers. That's the only way I believe Man United will be sold. Because there's a lot that it happened to Arsenal, a lot of noise, and they weren't sold. And I think with the Super League, there was a lot of noise and the Glazers that quietened down. We've got to make sure the Glazers out movement doesn't quieten down. Because if that quietens down, that's Jim Ratcliffe out the picture. Because if the Glazers spent 100 million on Anthony, it's a clear sign that they don't want to sell. They only brought Anthony and Casemiro to just try and lower the protest because they didn't want to sell. They announced Casemiro the day of the Liverpool protest to stop it happening. You know, that is what the Glazers have been doing. Now, I've got a few stories to get into as well. Campos just joined PSG, so don't think we can get him. I do agree with that as well. And only Fergie can call out the Glazers once and for all. It'd be nice if Fergie did call out the Glazers. And there was talks about Manchester United becoming an oil club and being brought by a consortium in the Middle East. The Emirate of Dubai is interested in buying United because if you think about it, so Qatar, not Qatar, so what's the other one? Not Dubai. What's the other one? What's it called? Abu Dhabi. That's it. Abu Dhabi have Man City. I think Bahrain, or is it Qatar, have PSG, and Dubai want Man United. You know, like every kind of rich fucking Arab country wants to buy a football club. Am I the big, and obviously Saudi Arabia have got Newcastle. Will I rather have Jim Ratcliffe than money that is probably not coming the best way? Yes. But at the end of the day, and this is going to sound horrible, but if an owner is going to come to Manchester United, spend a lot of money and make us the best fucking team in the world, that's what I fucking want at the end of the day, even if they have questionable morals, you know, because at the end of the day, Newcastle's owners have questionable morals, but if I could have Newcastle's owners instead of the Glazers owners, yeah, obviously I would. But I want to get into a few other reports as well. So obviously, if a lot of you haven't watched my video the last few days where I've given you general updates on the Glazer sale, but there was obviously this report I spoke about in my video the other day that said financial experts believe the next 12 months will be decisive if the Glazers are to sell Manchester United. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this up on my screen so you guys can see. As you can see, so basically, there's a lot of reports that have been coming out lately saying, because a lot of people ask me, do you think the Glazers will sell? Do you think the Glazers will sell? I don't want to say yes and I don't want to say no, because I think it really depends on the pressure we continue to put on the Glazers. Because, you know, Arsenal, they didn't sell when it looked like they were going to sell. The Super League, they didn't sell. They spent money. The Glazers don't want to sell. But there is a price on Man United and there is a buyer. So never say never to United being sold. And it has been said the financial experts believe the next 12 months will be decisive if the Glazers are to continue as Manchester United's owners as well. And, you know, people were saying that obviously the Glazers do love Manchester United. They do love owning a massive sports brand. But the Glazers don't have an emotional attachment to United. They're not interested in United emotionally. And because, Man United is simply a business to the Glazers. And this is what Mark Ogden said. Mark Ogden said that sources close to the Glazer family, so sources close to the Glazer family had told Mark Ogden, a good journalist, that because the Glazers only see Manchester United in a financial way and a business way, which we know, anyone with a brain knows that, and they do not have an emotional attachment to Manchester United, they could be likely to sell. They could be likely to sell because if they see a good business offer, that's what will, tempt them potentially into selling as well. But I've just realised that I haven't even got what I wanted up on the screen. Sorry. Can you see that on your screen? Can you see that on your screen? There we go. What I want to do is I want to get another story up on the screen. So I've actually got loads of reports. I've done a lot of research because I've done a lot of videos on the Glazers. And I want to see if I can find it. Looks like the 17-year... There was a report that came out about a month ago about the Glazer family. We're saying they would sell by a good source. I'm going to see if I can find that report. So yeah, this was a report that came out from the Telegraph, which is obviously a decent source, saying looks like the 17-year ownership by the Glazer family may yet be drawing to a conclusion. So this report, as you can see on the screen, let me zoom in one more, was over a month ago. But in the space of a month, we've had reports that the Glazers could sell from lots of sources. We've had reports that the Glazer family are divided about selling United. Certain members of the Glazer family want to sell Man United. We have reports that now the Glazers have agreed a price to sell United for. And we also have thoughts that that Jim Ratcliffe, we also been told that Jim Ratcliffe's interested in buying United. So I also want to get another thing out. Glazers' other family members understood to want out. So I'm trying to find this other report. I'm going to get it on screen for you. Glazers' other family members want out. And there was a report, and I can't remember who it was from, but here it was. So this was from the Mail. And this again was August 17th. And it said, although the Glazers are not prepared to cede control of Manchester United, brothers Avram and Joel are expected to keep their shares and oversee the day-to-day running of Old Trafford, but other family members are understood to want out. And the reason I get this report to you now is because there was a report a month ago that the owners are divided. Joe and Avram have the final say, but there's members of the Glazer family that no longer are interested in Man United, no longer want United, they're fed up with it. And I think that is a start. I think Jim Ratcliffe wanting to buy is a start. I think the fact that other members of the Glazer family want out is a start. you know, I think you have to look at all these little things as a positive. But at the end of the day, we know the Glazers don't want to sell unless it's going to massively impact them financially. Going back to all the reports about the Glazer family share the same thing. The Glazers will sell if it benefits them financially. If it benefits them financially, the Glazers will sell because they see United as a business. So if Jim Ratcliffe has the money, I think the Glazers will sell. Jim Ratcliffe has a lot of money. He has enough money to buy United, but the Glazers will only sell for more than United is worth. So does Jim Ratcliffe have more than United is worth level of money? Is Jim Ratcliffe willing to massively overpay for United? And for me, to conclude sort of everything that we said regarding the Glazers, I don't think the Glazers family want to sell. I'm not going to say I don't think they will sell. I think it's a possibility. But I think the fact that they invested in the summer is a sign that the Glazers don't want to sell. But I think if we continue the pressure on the Glazers, there's potential they could sell. I think it's 50-50, but I'm almost swinging 30-70. I think 70% of the Glazers stay here because we saw what happened with Arsenal when they thought Kroenke was going to go and he didn't go. But get your hashtag Glazers out in the chat, guys, as well. And Glazers don't know anything about soccer. I mean, they call the sport soccer, so it says it all as well. And if that's the case, then Jim Ratcliffe will have to buy their shares and launch a hostile takeover. Absolutely spot on as well. And Elon Musk joking about buying United, but I don't think he will. And Avram and Joe owns the majority of shares, so it means nothing. 100%. That's what I was trying to say. At the end of the day, other family members want out, but Joe and Avram, they are the main people. But we obviously know, and there was a report not that long ago about the Glazers selling shares in United. And I think this is what could drive people over the edge. Do you know how Barcelona have basically sold their TV rights? There are reports that the Glazers were looking and thinking about selling United's TV rights to raise money for transfers, which for me is, you know, they're going to turn us into fucking Barcelona. Which for me, I think, you know, if that report is true, it does show that the Glazers do not have the money to invest in United long term. And to do that, the Glazers would need to bring someone in. They would need to, you know, have less control of the club, you know. And I think, are the Glazers happy to let United rot? Or do the Glazers need someone to actually have a bit more control in the club? Because at the end of the day, you know, the Glazers might not care about Man United, but they do care about money. And top four is money. Champions League is money. People forget that. If we finish in the Champions League spaces, that is money for the Glazer family. And, you know, I always look at it and I go, well, they need to finish in the top four. The Glazers want to make sure we're fourth. The Glazers want a life where we come fourth every season and they don't really have to invest. They don't really have to spend much money, but that's it. United are going to be fourth every season. They can bish, bash, bosh, chill and relax. That's the life the Glazers want, fourth place. So they need to invest to get fourth place. And with the amount of money Newcastle have, Tottenham have, Arsenal have, you know, the top six are going to come the top seven with Newcastle. You're going to have to invest to get top four in the Premier League. So they might not completely sell United, but there were talks of them selling TV rights and were talks of them ceding some control of the club as well. I do want to get into the Bellingham news, by the way, guys, but hashtag Glazers out in the chat as well. Please do hit that like button if you have not already. And of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. If you do want to stay up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates and more, please do subscribe. I go live every single evening on the channel, keeping you guys up to date with all the latest news. I'm doing a watch along to Manchester United versus Sherrif on Thursday. I do videos, short videos during the day. I do live streams every evening. So if you are new to the channel and if you do want to stay up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, updates and more, please do subscribe. It would really be appreciated as well. I was tempted to do a watch along for Bayern Barca and Ajax Liverpool later tonight, but I probably won't. But let's hope Liverpool lose. But I want to get into some other topics because I have just blabbed about how much I hate the Glazers for 40 minutes. I could blab about that for an hour. Steve says the Glazers are the worst owners you could get. If they leave, I hope they don't go for another football team. No one should suffer because, yeah, 100%. The thing about the Glazers is they literally put Man United in debt, leveraged their debt on us, and just slowly destroyed this club. We're only 54 likes away from 300 likes, so do smash that like button. I want to get into the Bellingham news as well. Glazers and Stan Kroenke only care about top four. Roman Abramovich only wanted to win the league and win Champions Leagues. We need someone that wants to win the league and Champions League. And the club has been destroyed by the Glazers. Even when they go, it will take years to fix the damage. And have done what they've done is pure scumbags, says Gaz. Exactly. And what Gaz says is the thing about the Glazers is they've not just ruined us for 10 years. as Gaz said, it's going to take a few years to fix the damage because they've left us in such a mess as well. We're going to have to completely do up the stadium that they've neglected. We're going to have to completely change the team. You're absolutely spot on there, Glaz, as well. Someone says, "Are you looking for timber?" So we want to talk. I want to talk about Jude Bellingham as well, because I don't want to talk about the Glazers. They absolutely boil my blood. We all hate the Glazers, but there was a report that came from a decent source about Jude Bellingham to United, and Romano even did a video yesterday, Fabrizio Romano, and I think Fabrizio Romano even said that Jude Bellingham was a player that United had interest in. So this was obviously what came out about Jude Bellingham. Now, Plettigo, which is a decent source of information, Florian Plettenberg, said, "I am totally convinced he will leave Dortmund in 2023, referring to Jude Bellingham, of course. Maybe to Liverpool, maybe to Manchester United. I think those are the two teams that have a very good chance of getting him." Now, we know with Jude Bellingham, Liverpool obviously very, very interested in Jude Bellingham. Liverpool had the heart set on Jude Bellingham for a long time, but Liverpool having a bit of a collapse at the moment. Jurgen Klopp potentially going. Ten Hag being a manager known for developing youth. Man United always had a little bit of an interest in Bellingham. It could be a possible thing. Smokey says stability is key, and that's what United don't have. Your spot on as well. And Steve says he misses the real old Man United who were going for trophies. I miss the Man United Arsenal rivalry that I grew up to, 100%. Nkunku, Timber, Bellingham, Sanchez. So there are reports about Jude Bellingham to Manchester United that I will briefly cover. Then I do want to get back into some more news. I do think with Jude Bellingham to United, I think he's a good player, but I think he's slightly overrated. And I would rather get someone like Frankie de Jong. If I had full control of transfers, I'd get Victor Osimhen from Napoli. I would get Nkunku. They would be my two attackers. I would get Frankie de Jong as a midfielder, and I'd get Jurien Timber in as a right back / centre back, or more of a centre back. And then I'd probably get Sanchez from Brighton. They would be my 5 signings. Jude Bellingham is a player that he's decent, and I think we do need a player like Jude Bellingham, but I still think he's a little overrated. And that might be an unpopular opinion of mine. I think he'll improve us. But I'll still go for De Jong. I'm still obsessed with De Jong. But of course, I'd be happy with Jude Bellingham. People say now they're still fucking talking about De Jong. Get over yourself. 500 likes, guys. So that's 500 viewers. So let's go for 400 likes on the video. And Joel Glazer doesn't give a fuck. This is why Joel Glazer family has to be drummed out of town. Smash that like button if you are Glazers out. I do want to get into a little bit of team news as well. So Ten Hag's press conference is tomorrow, but because the Leeds game is cancelled, that means United will be able to play their strongest lineup versus Sherrif. Is it Sherrif or Sherrif? Is it Sherrif or Sherrif, guys? Because I keep saying Sherrif, but I feel like it's Sheriff. I don't even know why I'm saying Sherrif, but we'll get this lovely picture up because this is what we want to see on the screen here. But I'm thinking of what is Manchester United's strongest lineup? Because that's what we'll play versus Sherrif tomorrow. We're going to play our strongest lineup because obviously we're in a situation where we don't have a game at the weekend. So Ten Hag, in a weird way, and I don't want the weekend games to be cancelled. I don't want the weekend games to be cancelled one bit. In fact, I'm absolutely fuming that the weekend games are cancelled, if I'm being honest with you. I'm absolutely fuming because I want to watch United Leeds because we've got a 2-week international break coming up. Your girl is very annoyed that the weekend games are cancelled. But what I will say is, does it benefit us, the weekend games being cancelled? Probably not long term because we've got 2 games to fit in January, February, March, and we're going to be playing twice a week anyway. So if we get injuries from the World Cup and all of that, we're absolutely fucked because I don't think we have the most amazing squad depth. However, because the Leeds game is cancelled, we can now play our strongest lineup in the Europa League against Sherrif. I can't fucking say Sherrif. I can't say the fucking name. But we can now play our strongest team against them, which means that we're more likely to win. And don't underestimate this team. They beat fucking Real Madrid. Do not underestimate this team, Sherrif. I can't say the name. Do not underestimate them. It means that we can play our strongest team. However, it means that we basically have such a long break between the Manchester derby as well. And also, we've got a 2-week international break coming up, which is really annoying. But, I think, right now our strongest team seems to be a lot stronger than our backup team as well. I'd rather have De Jong, plus you could be talking 150 million for Bellingham. I think Dortmund would overprice us for Bellingham as well. And Ratcliffe needs to buy us and save us from the Glazers. And while I don't hate the Glazers, I don't like their business model and how they're starving United by taking dividends from United. That's a very mature response, Sadiq. I rate that as well. Can the Glazers be arrested? Very unlikely. There was rumours that Avram Glazer went to Epstein Island, but I don't know if someone just made that up or if that actually is true. I'd like them to end up in prison, but I don't think they can. I don't think they've done anything illegal, just other than ruin this club, which isn't actually illegal as well. We can't have any old owner. We need someone who the fans know loves the club and is football minded. Exactly, which is what you get with Jim Ratcliffe. He's a United fan. I mean, look, guys, if I had the money, I'd buy Man United. But I don't have the money, and I'm never going to have the money. But if I was a multi-billionaire, I'd be fucking buying Man United right now. I'd be saying, Glazer, I'll give you 7 billion. I'll give you so much. I'll give you anything you want. Well, not anything. But I will give you a lot of money to buy the club. That's what I say to the Glazers. But because it will take a lot of money for the Glazers to sell. And I think the only way we can lower the price of United is just continuing protest, continuing the pressure on the Glazers, continuing to do our Glazer out protest and all that. That is the real way to get them out. And hopefully we get them fucking scumbags out of our fucking club, eh? Guys, please do subscribe down below if you're new. We are, well, I say we're on the road to 51,000 subscribers. We're on 50,720 subscribers. So do subscribe if you're new to the channel. I do want to get into a few more stories. Obviously, a lot of people's talking about how Ten Hag has changed the club, how Ten Hag has changed the mentality. A lot of people are speaking about how Lisandro Martinez is an absolute beast, and a lot of rumours about the Glazers selling as well. Obviously, the main thing that came out was from Mike Keegan of the Daily Mail, who basically agreed with this 4 billion price of the Glazers selling. This price tag that's come out of 4 billion euros, which is 3.75 billion pounds, has been going around for a while. I think the Glazers will. I still think the Glazers. I don't think they'd sell for that much. I think the Glazers would sell for like something crazy, like 7 billion, because they're stupid idiots, aren't they? But let's get into the next story. So obviously, I want to ask you guys a question. Okay, who would you sign in 2023? Would you sign a striker? Would you sign a midfielder? Would you sign a defender? I think we need that long-term Ronaldo replacement, because the next story is that Ronaldo could be looking for a way out in January. Ronaldo's not happy at United. He's not really being used that much. He's not working in Ten Hag's system. It's still early days. I still think Ronaldo will get goals and be very good. But a lot of reports coming out basically saying Ronaldo is set to leave in January 2023. Now, knowing the Glazers, the little bratty fuckers, they will probably let Ronaldo go in January. Actually, will they let Ronaldo go in January because of the commercial side? Probably not. But if Ronaldo does go in January, we probably won't sign anyone or a replacement. I mean, look, last January we lost Martial. Last January, we technically lost Mason Greenwood. And last January, Cavani decided to go to the boxing instead of turning up to training and fake an injury. So we only had Ronaldo. You know, and right now, if Ronaldo goes, we're relying on an injured Martial to be our striker when we're playing After January, guys, we play 2 games a week. 2 to 3 games a week, non-stop from January to May. We have to have at least 2 fit strikers, because Martial will not be able to do that even if he doesn't get injured. It would be insane. United need to get someone in for depth for the second half of the season. Ten Hag's got to deal with United in the hardest season ever. Ten Hag's really coming in the most difficult, hard seasons to take over, hasn't he? And if he gets top 4, give my man a fucking statue. But if we do lose Ronaldo, we need to get a striker. Now, I don't think we will get a striker. I think we'd let Ronaldo go and not replace him because we're fucking idiots. But who would you sign if we let Ronaldo go at striker? There's reports of Ivan Toney. There's reports of Osimhen. Who would you get as well? A lot of people saying forward Jude Bellingham / De Jong 100% as well. And as Diego said, let's push for 51k. Ronaldo is too old, he is. We do need a striker and a CM. Absolutely spot on as well. We need striker and midfielders. Some people say maybe go through Gakpo in January. I do think we need to bring in another forward in January because of the squad depth coming up as well. And Sherrif 120 at the last 23 titles. It's absolutely mad, but we've got, as Steve said, we've got a hard game coming up Thursday. A really hard game coming up Thursday. And what I want to do is I want to get into what is our strongest lineup. So, build lineup. Is this the one? No, I don't like that one. This is the one I like. I think this is the one I like. No, I don't. Whatever. So I don't want to. I want to find the build lineup one that I like. What's it called? This is it. So there we go. So what is Ten Hag going to do versus Sherrif? Because reportedly now we don't have Leeds. Ten Hag is going to play his strongest lineup. Now we don't have Leeds. So what is Manchester United's strongest lineup? Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. If you've just joined and you're here for the Glazers news, scroll back to the beginning of the live stream. We talk all about the Glazers at the beginning of the live stream. Try and Cuckoo in January. I think with his new contract, he will go in the summer, not January. But on the road to 51k. But how is Ten Hag going to line up versus Sherrif? So David De Gea in goal. He's good. You know, we've had a week's rest and we don't have any more games for another few weeks. So it will be Ten Hag's strongest lineup. So we will be seeing we will be seeing the back four that we want to see. How fucking good is Lisandro Martinez, guys? Amazing. We will be seeing the return of probably Scott and Eriksson. And we probably will be seeing Bruno Fernandes. I do believe we'll see Anthony on the right because he prefers Anthony. We will see probably Rashford up top over Ronaldo and Sancho on the left. But there are reports that Martial could be fit and maybe come off the bench. There are some question marks over Martial returning from fitness. Donny is still injured. There is potential for Casemiro to come in because I think if you swap Casemiro for Scott McTominay and you swap Martial for Rashford, I think that is our strongest lineup. But that is probably what we could see potentially versus Sherrif. Martinez should be captain. In tomorrow's video, we're going to talk about 5 dressing room changes Ten Hag might make, and that would include maybe making Lisandro Martinez the next captain at United. There's a lot of reports coming out, actually, that Ten Hag doesn't plan to carry on with Harry Maguire as Manchester United captain, and that Lisandro Martinez could become United captain next season, but I think Ten Hag will wait until the end of the season to change captaincy. However, with Maguire not playing, could Harry Maguire be stripped of captaincy? You know, that is a rumour going around that Ten Hag could actually strip Maguire of captaincy. But this is what I think United should do versus Sherrif. I saw reports saying Chelsea are going to offer Rashford a contract. Do you think reports are true? Man United are going to extend Rashford's contract by 1 year. Man United have 6 players out of contract. Rashford's contract will be extended by 1 year. I think Rashford will not go to Chelsea. I think Maguire could leave in the summer and go to Chelsea. Now, I've been reading a lot of reports that Chelsea are very interested in Maguire. However, now Graham Potter said maybe not. I think Maguire's going to leave Man United this summer. And the reason I say that is I think we're going to get Jurriën Timber next summer, and he will be a little bit of backup for Dalot at right back, but he will play centre-back next to Martinez when Varane is injured. I think we'll get Jurriën Timber next summer, and once we sign Jurriën Timber, that makes way for someone like Harry Maguire to leave Manchester United next summer. You know, I don't think he's really that wanted. I don't think we'll renew his contract because he's on such high wages and he's getting old anyway. I think Maguire will leave United this summer. I really do believe that. I think Rashford will stay, extend his contract, and I do believe Rashford will have a good season. I think Martial will stay. I think Dalot, I think his contract apparently has been extended. I think Fred will probably extend his contract by a year, but I don't think Ten Hag will want to renew Fred's contract. I don't think Fred is in Ten Hag's long-term plans. I think Luke Shaw, his contract will be renewed by a year, and I think De Gea's contract will be renewed by a year. I think that basically Dalot is the only Man United player that's got a new contract. If Rashford continues to perform, he will get a new contract. But reportedly, Luke Shaw, David De Gea, and Fred will just get a 1 year, renewal. And then they'll probably go for free the following summer if they don't perform. And then Ronaldo will be let go of in the summer, and we will replace Ronaldo. That's reportedly what United do plan on doing with the 6 players set to leave on a free. A lot of people saying, why don't we extend David De Gea's contract? You don't realise how crazily expensive. David De Gea is on one of the highest wages in the Premier League. You know, if you want to extend De Gea's contract, he's got to take a wage reduction, because I don't think and a lot of people won't like me for saying this, but I don't think David De Gea will be Ten Hag's number 1 goalkeeper for much longer. Ten Hag seems to have plans away from De Gea as well. I will never forgive the Glazer family, says JH. And Timber and Martinez would be a very small pairing at the back. But as Martinez has proved so far this season, height doesn't seem to matter. But it would be a 4-2-3-1. But obviously McTominay sort of being a bit more on the defensive side, if that makes sense as well. As is similar with Lisandro Martinez, height doesn't seem to matter too much at Manchester United. But I do believe Maguire will leave this summer, actually. Rashford is ace. Before CR7 was saving grace, he put big teams to bed. Look, Rashford is a player where this season will tell us all about Marcus Rashford and Sancho. This season for Marcus Rashford, Sancho, and Martial is a lot. And this is obviously the Premier League fixtures before the World Cup, guys. I'm going to ask you guys, how many points do you think we're getting? Okay, this is my predictions for the Premier League fixtures before the World Cup. I think we're going to beat Man City. Call me deluded, call me an idiot, call me everything. Today I cheer for Ajax, says Rob. Big up Rob in the chat. Guys, hopefully Ajax beat Liverpool, because watching Liverpool lose is entertaining. I want Liverpool to get knocked out the Champions League in the group stage would be brilliant. I think we're going to beat Man City. I can see counter-attack. What we did to Arsenal, what we did to Liverpool, beat Man City. I think we'll beat Everton. I think we will draw to Newcastle. I think we'll beat Tottenham. I think we will lose to Chelsea. I think we will draw to West Ham. I think we'll beat Villa, and I think we'll beat Fulham. They are sort of my predictions coming up as well. Is it true the Glazers are selling? Yes and no. The Glazers have a price of 4 billion on United and would sell if someone can match the 4 billion price, but Manchester United is not for sale. However, Jim Ratcliffe wants to buy United. The Glazers could be selling, but as of now, they're not officially selling. It's all rumours and speculation for someone that's just joined the chat as well. 24 points, easy, someone said as well. It's mad that the World Cup's coming up. I would have loved that Leeds game put in there. And what do you think the score will be in the Europa League game? I think United will win 3-0. I think it's going to be a tough game, but I think we'll play our strongest lineup and win as well. I think it will be a 2-2 draw between West Ham and your Man United. I do think West Ham could give us a tough game. West Ham always give the Big Six a tough game, don't they? If Chelsea buy Rashford, it will only kill United as a competitor. I don't think Rashford will end up at Chelsea. I don't even think Rashford's a Graham Potter player. I'm not 100% sure where, the Chelsea rumours have come from as well. With Rashford. I think Rashford, Rashford and PSG is what it's always seemed to be. I think all the rumours, and I'll tell you this, the rumours of Rashford to Chelsea, the rumours of Rashford to PSG, it's Rashford's PR team working on getting a new contract. Rashford's contract expires in 8 months. So Rashford's contract expires in 8 months. In 3 months, teams can negotiate to sign Rashford on a free. Okay? So I think this whole situation with Rashford and all of these teams and all of that, and Rashford this and Rashford that, and Rashford going this way and Rashford going that way, I don't think Rashford is going to Chelsea. I generally just believe it's all about, Rashford trying to get a new contract. Donny's come out and spoke about Liverpool versus Ajax, and Donny says, I think Ajax will beat Liverpool. You've got to love Donny. He's obviously an Ajax boy, but any opportunity to shithouse Liverpool, you've got to rank it as well. And apparently, Jude Bellingham asked whose fans at home will be supporting when Man City play Borussia Dortmund tomorrow. And I think Birmingham are all Dortmund tomorrow, which was an interesting quote that came out. Not that anyone cares as well. But someone said Marcus Edwards is going to be signed by a Premier League club for 50 million soon because he's been absolutely insane by Sporting Lisbon. Just going through a little bit of the news updates there. But we are on 307 likes, guys. So thanks to everybody for hitting that like button. We did hit the 300 like target goal. I do want to just get into the final stories before I end the live stream, which is Bellingham to United is a potential next summer. The Glazers potentially could sell. And I will say this with the Glazers, the fact that they're banning anti-Glazer banners from Old Trafford. The fact that anti-Glazer banners are being taken down from Old Trafford is a very good sign that the protests are working. And I will tell everyone, continue hashtag Glazers out on Twitter, continue hashtag Glazers out, continue all the Glazers out stuff that you're doing, because all of this is a very good sign that the Glazers would be open to selling Manchester United. The fact that they're banning anti-Glazer banners from Old Trafford, the fact that they're having to remove Glazer out comments on social media, the fact that they're having meetings about selling the club, the fact that Jim Ratcliffe wants to buy United, all of this is continued pressure on the Glazer family, and I do believe they will sell United. And Martial and Bayes' interviews are prime examples of players being bitter and not trying for the club, says YouTube. Personally disagree. I think they've been treated badly, but respect your opinion as well. But big up everybody that's tuned into today's video. I'm going to wrap up the live stream here. So big up everybody that's tuned in. Make sure you smash that like button. Of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. I will be back with a morning video tomorrow, and then I will be doing a live stream, Manchester United versus Sherrif preview tomorrow night. So do subscribe for that. Smash the like on the way out. Please do subscribe if you're new. Morning video tomorrow about 10 old changing captain. Reportedly, Maguire could be dropped as Man United captain. Evening live stream tomorrow, so you can come ask me questions if I didn't answer your live chat in tomorrow's evening live stream. And then Thursday is obviously Manchester United versus Sherrif watch along and all that. So smash that like button, subscribe down below if you're new, share the video. Big up everybody for tuning into the live stream. See you next time, and bye.